Hey everybody, Timothy here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about Beyond the Supernatural, the second edition role-playing game by Palladium Books. Yes, that's the same Palladium Books that did After the Bomb. So what kind of a role-playing game is it? Well, it's kind of like, if you ever watched the show Supernatural, it's a lot like that. So, let's see. There's basically a secret war between what they call psychic investigators who hunt down supernatural creatures that operate kind of quietly behind the scenes, kind of a stuff. It kind of talks about, you see here it says vanishing evidence, secrecy, all that sort of stuff. So what kind of characters can you play? That's what people really want to know. Well, you can play psychics for the most part. And basically, the closer you are to something supernatural, the more power your psychics can utilize. It kind of explains why you can't throw chairs around when there's when you're on a TV show and there's no monsters. Whereas when your life is in danger and the monster's bearing down on you, then all of a sudden, oh hey, I can So it's kind of like that. So they have here what's called the Autistic Psychic Savant. You can feel free to pause the video anytime if you want to know a little more about it. It says here, think Rain Man. It's he's kind of like an autistic person with psychic powers. Really is. They have some special abilities. I'm not going to go too much into it. You have the Diviner. This is someone who kind of psychic dowsing, reading signs. This is kind of your like your tarot card reader kind of a thing. They have see it says touch conveyance is kind of like psychometry, palm reading. Firewalker. This is kind of like what they call a burster in Rifts. This is a person who has pyrokinetic powers, kind of like the girl from Hellboy. Kind of like that. Genius or natural. This is someone whose psychic powers have been focused into their skills. Basically, they're really good at what they do. Even though they don't have flashy stuff, they can throw chairs across their mind. They're really good at whatever skills they choose to be. They can be amazing race car drivers, or they can just be really good fighters, or they can be super smart and know everything about everything. So yeah, they're pretty good about that. You have the Ghost Hunter. This is kind of like what your Sam and Dean would be from Supernatural. Maybe a little more than what they do to a degree. You have your latent psychic. These are people who are like ordinary people, and then all of a sudden they're psychic now. So they don't have as much psychic power as someone who's a full-on psychic, but they get probably the best selection of psychic powers because they're not limited to sensitive powers or physical powers or healing powers. They can kind of pick from a whole bunch of different ones. So that makes them kind of cool. You got your Nega Psychic. This is the guy whose psychic powers have been developed to not believe in psychics and magic. So this guy is probably the most immune guy there is. So basically, if he sees a werewolf and it slashes him, he'll think it's a dude in a suit with Freddy Krueger claws or something rather than admit it's a werewolf. If there's something he can't explain, he'll say, well, maybe science can't explain it yet, but someday it will. That's that guy. Ordinary people, you just play average Joe on the street. They're a little bit less like the Nega Psychic. The Parapsychologist, this is a guy who literally studies paranormal activity. If there's a guy that's closest to being able to cast spells, it's this guy. Let's see, you got your Physical Psychic. This is kind of like your telekinetics, your to a lesser degree, this guy can get some pyrokinetic stuff, or at least they used to. This is kind of like your, these are guys that can resist fatigue and hunger and thirst. Kind of like your Buddhist monks. You have the Psi Mechanic. This guy can build psychic devices. He can, kind of like if you ever watch Ghostbusters, how they trap the ghosts. That would be like a Psi Mechanic device. So that's kind of what they do. Psychic healers, these guys can heal people using psychic powers. Your Psychic Medium, this is someone who allows a spirit to possess them and speak through them. That's kind of what they can do. Let's see, what else you got? You got the Psychic Sensitive. These guys are real good at detecting things. They can sense supernatural. They can sense evil. Like, it's really hard to get a lie past those guys. And this kind of tells you what kind of psionics each one can kind of do. And this kind of goes into the different specifics of each psionic power. I'm not going to get too much into it. But, you can, like I said, you can pause and slow the video as you see fit. And then there are other things. This kind of goes into character creation. The alignments are kind of the same. This is kind of your XP chart. And it's a lot of the same as After the Bomb as far as leveling up the character, insanities. Combat's kind of held the same. They don't have hand-to-hand bullfight though. It talks a little bit about psychic combat, which is a little different than hand-to-hand. And then, of course, you have skills just like in After the Bomb. They don't really have the baseball skill, but they have a lot that they don't have there. This kind of, again, they go up in level based off all that. So we're just going to kind of speed through that there. Now, the Laszlo Society is kind of like a psychic investigator, kind of a... I don't want to call it a club, but they're a society that investigates the supernatural. Laszlo is a guy. It's based off of a guy named Victor Laszlo, who was last seen, at least in the first edition, he was last seen in 1985. He's investigating one of the Serpent Mounds, I think in Iowa or Illinois or wherever it's at, and he vanished. And we'll talk about what happens to him when we get to a different role-playing game by Palladium Books. But basically, he vanished, and in the second edition, I don't know if he started it or if someone else close to him started the thing, but it basically gets psychic investigators' jobs to hunt, find supernatural activity. You can be an agent. It talks a little bit about the types of monsters, like you have banshees, boogeymen, Abbas Chala. This is a neat creature. It has all kinds of different names. Brain borrowers, Dorota, the succubus or incubus, devil ghosts, dimensional ghouls, dybbuk. Entities, you have poltergeists, haunting entities, siphon entities, tectonic entities, grave ghouls, gremlins, hellhounds, stuff like that. Give me just a moment here. Okay, we're back. If you're wondering what that beeping was in the background, it was my phone. I had some food in the oven and didn't want it to burn, so. Yeah, anyway, so we have hellhounds, and that kind of is all they have there. But yeah, so, if this sounds like the kind of RPG you'd like, or, you want to try, certainly give it a shot, give it a look. Again, it's Beyond the Supernatural, 2nd edition by Palladium Books. You can find that at their official site of Palladium Books. And yeah, so if you like this video, feel free to give it a like, or maybe even subscribe if you like. And I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time.